Hello and welcome. In this video, we will set up a compliance check in Business Central for master data. Therefore, we will show within our example how to configure the check and necessary permissions. In this example, we set up a compliance check for customers that it is exclusively limited to changes of the credit limit field. While changes to customer data may be permitted for many users, we want to limit changes to the credit limit field only to a specific group of people, and then these changes must be approved by a second team member in accordance with the two-person rule. In a final step, a team leader should also check and approve the changes. First, we will set up the permissions and permission groups and assign them to the users based on our example. Let's switch to Business Central and start by carrying out the setup. Via the Tell Me function, we open the compliance permissions. For our example, we set up an approval permission for team members and one for team leads. Additionally, we specify one permission for rejection and one for change. The individual permissions are now complete. In the next step, we set up the permission groups by opening the corresponding page. For our example, we configured two permission groups, one for the team members and one for the team leaders. The team members receive the permissions: approval for team members, change, and rejection. The team leaders receive the permissions: approval for team leads and rejection. Finally, the permissions groups must be assigned to users. Thus, we open the compliance user setup via Tell Me. We assign two users the permission group for team members. And in a last step, we assign one user the permission group as team leader. So far, so good. Let's have a look on what is next. After setting up the permissions groups and assigning them to the users, we will now set up the check within the compliance tables based on our example. To set up the compliance checks, we open the compliance tables. For our example of customer check, we assign a unique code in the code field. Afterwards, we choose the customer table in the table number field. And in the description field, we provide a description for the compliance check. Since we only want compliance check for changes in the credit limit field of the customer card, we can restrict this to compliance fields. Without requirements in the compliance fields, every change on the customer card will be checked. But we specify just the credit limit field for the check. To ensure that only a selected group of employees can make changes to customer credit limit, we can restrict this via Change Permission Code field. Only users assigned to a compliance permission group that includes this permission can make changes to the customer credit limit and thereby trigger a compliance document. In our example, this concerns the group of team members. In the Release Permission Code field, the approval permission of the team leader is entered. This will guarantee that upon granting the second approval, the team leader simultaneously releases the compliance document. And in the Reject Permission Code field, we enter the permission for the rejection. For our example, we also activate the checkbox Release 1 and enter the permission for the team member's approval in the Release 1 permission code field. To make sure that the compliance document is checked by another team member, we activate the 4 Eyes principle checkbox. For the second approval, we also activate the Release 2 checkbox and enter the team lead's approval permission. The compliance check has now been set up. To ensure that it is activated, we are changing the status to Released. Based on our example, we have created a compliance check for changes to the customer credit limit. Now, I would like to demonstrate in Business Central how this check is applied when a user who is not authorized to change the credit limit modifies this field. We are now logged in as a user who belongs to the permission group Team Lead and therefore does not have the change permission required to change the credit limit. If we modify this amount and then click End Customer Update in an attempt to save, we receive a corresponding error message. And finally, let me show you how this check is applied when this field is changed by a user who is authorized to make changes to the credit limit. We are logged in as a user belonging to the Team Member Permission Group. As this group includes the change permission, this user can change the credit limit. When we change the credit limit and save the change through End Customer Update, we now trigger the compliance check. For more information, you can also visit our online help at the link shown or check out our other videos. Thanks for watching.